Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here with Peter Kahn, our Senior Director of our Research and Insight team, and you recently did a study on a service shopper study. So tell us a little bit about why you did it, and we did a first version and we're doing a round two, so tell us a little bit about Service Shopper 2.0.
You bet. And as you all know, the fixed operations side of the business is super important from a revenue and a retention and a profitability standpoint. So we really want to understand and help dealers in really knowing their service customers. Why do they stay? Why do they coming to the dealership for service, particularly after the warranty expires? What are the features that really matter to them? And if they do decide to defect, what are the reasons for defection? And then where do they go? What other service channel, service provider do they go to? And why do they go to those other service channels? What do those folks offer? And then how do we win them back? What are the things we need to do as dealers to win them back again? So that's the context of Service Shopper 2.0. We did 1.0 back in, I want to say, November of 2020.
Right.
Completely different environment for the United States. We were just coming out of COVID. People were still very, very nervous. And we didn't have the inflation that we have now. Going back out again with Service Shopper 2.0, I think the fears of COVID are kind of past us. And certainly we have rampant inflation. We have supply shortages. We have, that's in technicians, that's in parts, that's in everything. So it's a really different environment, and we kind of ended up with some different results. When we did Service Shopper 2.0, we really want to get a wide range of customers. So not only do we get a spread of incomes, how much money they make, and their age, what generation they're part of, education, gender, et cetera, but we want to know attitudinal things, and that is, what's your maintenance philosophy? Are you doing everything you can to keep the pristine nature of your car, or you just do what it takes to keep the car running? And how many miles do you drive? What kind of car do you drive? So we get those attitudinal things, and we can take all that really rich insights and go back and understand, again, why come to a dealership? What does the dealership offer? Why would you leave? What does it take to bring you back?
So part of the study, did you find out about customer satisfaction? For example, is there different customer satisfaction levels in the different channels, whether it's the dealership, the aftermarket, just a chain group or a mobile service? Did you find different results in those customer satisfaction levels?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned all the different channels. So it's dealership, independent service provider, national chain, and mobile. We included mobile this time. Interestingly enough, and we use the question likely to recommend. Would you recommend this service provider to your friends or family? That's a great indicator. And so compared to Service Shopper 1.0, in this case, all the channels were pretty much equal with that likely to recommend, which, by the way, for those folks who know Net Promoter, that's how we get that. They're all pretty much equal, but they are equal for different reasons. And those reasons are pretty much the fact that, what dealerships offer and what customers really like is factory trained technicians and OEM certified parts. People come to the dealership when they have a complex repair. They trust the dealership to get it right, and that's really one of the key strengths the dealerships have. When we talk about independent service providers, they actually are pretty good when it comes to pricing. And so again, going back to this inflationary period we saw a 16-point drop in defection from the dealership back in October of 2020 to this latest shop, and that's because, again, people feel a little safer about going to the independent service provider, and they're very sensitive to price. So the independent service provider has an advantage in that area, and they still do a pretty good job. Customers start to trust them. The national chain is nothing but location. It's nothing about convenience. That's what it's about. And then, interesting enough, the mobile service provider is kind of in the same place with strengths as the convenience chain. And that is, they make it easy to get service. Location obviously is solved. And so those are the reasons why people go to those different channels. Again, same general level of satisfaction, different reasons.
So when it comes to the dealership and retaining customers or winning customers back, did you learn things that the dealers should be doing to actually help that? After they've gone through warranty, as you mentioned, and now they get to make the decision, what should the dealer do to retain that customer, or if they've lost them, win that customer back?
Yeah, I do want to talk a little about EVs, because everybody's asking about EVs and EV service. What does that mean? And a lot of dealers have a big decision to make relative to the brands they support. How do I transition to EV service, and what does it mean to me? We found out some really interesting things about EV customers, and that is 78% of folks who drive an EV go to the dealership for service. It's about 59% for those folks that have a hybrid, and about 39% of those folks who have an ICE vehicle. Wow. What that means is, and going back to that notion of what's the dealership strength, and that is the fact that they are factory trained and they have those certified parts, they have that expertise. And we come back and think about advanced technologies, such as an EV or a hybrid, that really drives loyalty. So when you think about your fixed operations, we believe that while we had retention problems on the gasoline side, on the ICE side, we think that we're going to have really great retention when it comes to these advanced systems. So I would encourage dealers to really think strongly about converting over to EV service. While you may lose individual revenue because we don't have oil changes and fluid checks
the
and all
maintenance items.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think we're going to have really better retention, and that really matters a lot. So the question that you asked, and that is, how do dealers capitalize on their strengths? And I've really made, I hope, a really strong point about that idea of expertise and whatnot. And so dealers, when they do service marketing, they should really be bringing out the ideas that we know how to get this right. We have the parts, we have a good part supply compared to some of these other channels. Come to us for that type of work. The thing that is problematic for dealers, again, is going back to that notion of inflation and pricing. Back when we did the first Service Shopper, I understand that American savings rate was 33%. The world was pretty stuffed with cash. I should say America, pretty stuffed with cash. That's not the case anymore. And there's a recent study that came out that 74% of Americans don't have $400 for emergency repairs. So they're super sensitive about price. And that's why we saw that defection of 16 points. So when dealers are bringing in service customers, they need to be really thoughtful about pricing. You don't have to be the cheapest, but you have to be fair, and you have to have trust that you're not going to upsell. That is one of the biggest reasons for defection, is that some dealers are starting to do that upsell. Maybe the customer feels like that repair is not needed. And then they go, gosh, I can't afford that, and then they start to try other channels. So dealers need to be thinking, again, about pricing. We did some work on understanding what are the key service features that dealers should be bringing. What service features should they offer? What service features maybe they should drop? And something like personalized offers is a really good thing to bring customers back. Thinking about service shoppers that have maybe been dormant in your system, maybe thinking about sending out personalized offers for work, at a decent price, that could bring them back again. But again, fair pricing, trust and transparency, using something like CDK service pricing to really get the pricing right, I think is a big one as well.
Yeah, I think that, you said they don't have to be the lowest price, but, they need to be fair. And I think utilizing a tool like service pricing so that it's a consistent price throughout the whole process. So what they see when they schedule their appointment online, when they bring their car in for service, and when they finally actually pay for the service, keeping that consistency will help build that trust as well. You also mentioned, that they don't want to be upsold, but I believe that, as the cars have connectivity, and we can offer things like connected vehicle, and the car's telling the customer that you need this service, this alert is on, then they, trust because it's the car, they're not feeling like they're upsold, like they may if they took it into the dealership and it was just the advisor saying, hey, you need this done. So again, I think those two things can really help build the trust, which is important for the retention and winning the customers.
Super important. And it was interesting, and it's a great point, again, that notion of the dealership getting it right. We also asked customers, what were the difficult and easy parts of the entire service journey? And one of the things that was the most frustrating, 20% of folks said this is the most difficult part of being a service was understanding what their future needs were. And so when you think about that, CDK's got a great solution when it comes to predictive service and helping the service advisor, basically demonstrating to the customer this is what we think is going to happen based on all the data we have, and alleviating some of that stress of what's going to happen next to my vehicle. So again, something really important to think about. And one other thing, and that is on that trust and transparency thing, and that is the idea of using video. Showing customers, hey, you do need this repair. Let me show you your brakes. And send that video back to the customer and have them know that we're doing what's right for your car.
Right. It gives them, I always say, a look behind the curtain, because typically their car goes into the shop, they don't see anything that happens, so it gives them that look under their car, under their hood, and in a lot of cases, that's the first time they've ever seen underneath their car when they get that video from the technician.
Yeah, kind of an oh wow moment.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, and those are the types of things that really matter. Again, another thing is making it easy for customers. Mobile pay,
Right.
those types of things, making it just easy for customers to work with the dealership. So I think those are some of the do's and don'ts that dealerships should think about in retention. Reach out to your customers, bring them a way of feeling comfortable about the price. Building that trust and transparency. Don't oversell. Use some of the tools that are available to you, such as technician videos, easy scheduling, all those that we can bring to the fixed operations business.
Yeah, along with Vehicle Tracker, that's a new tool that we have. So allowing the customer to be able to see where their car is while it's being serviced. So just, again, better communication for the customer. So Peter, any don'ts? I know you talked a little bit about don't be the highest price, but were there any other don'ts that you found during the survey?
Number one and number two reasons for defection, again, and it's interesting because we asked customers directly, what would bring you back to the dealership? Okay. And people are really positive about what the dealership brings for their service experience. But again, it's like if they do this thing, and most of it had to do with price, if they give me an offer, if they give me a discount, if they make it easier, then I would come back again because the other features really matter to them. So I think, again, we've talked about it, don't oversell, don't be the most expensive.
Right.
And then, again, thinking about those other channels, especially when it comes to the national chains, make it easy to schedule, that vehicle tracking, where's my car in service? That was the second most frustrating thing in that service journey, knowing where the vehicle was. Those are the things, again, that are going to really make a difference. I think it's a great story, going forward, using some of the tools and the systems, having those processes, thinking about those shoppers. And again, along the idea about converting to EV and the hybrid customers, over time, if you stay just on working on gas, we saw that 78% of folks with a vehicle under 3 years went to the dealership, but if the car was 10 years old, only 10% went to the dealership. So again, as EVs come online, we think the retention is going to be fantastic. And we think it's I can't wait to do Service Shopper 3.0 and see what the changes are.
Exactly. Well, Peter, thanks for your time, and I would encourage anyone who wants to see some of these new features, either stop by the booth or reach out to CDK. We'd be happy to show you some of these features to help you retain and win back your customers. So thanks,
Thank you,
Peter.
Kim.